Today on Newsday.
I think we've come to the point finally where we've admitted this is all adjunctive. This is not replacive. This is adjunctive. So what we're going to do from a machine learning AI perspective is we're going to help you be a better clinician. We're going to help you be a better pharmacist.
My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16-hospital system and creator of This Week Health, where we are dedicated to transforming healthcare one connection at a time. Newsday discusses the breaking news in healthcare with industry experts, and we want to give a big thanks to our Newsday partners, Clearsense, HealthLink Advisors, Order, SureTest, and Towsite. Now, let's jump right in. All right, here we are from ViVE 2024 in LA, and this is a live Newsday episode, and I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I have Drex DeFord with me.
How you doing?
President of the Security and Privacy?
No. Dang, cybersecurity and risk.
Cybersecurity and
We
risk.
also talk about privacy, though. They're all the favorites.
Risk makes sense.
Yeah.
So many of the cyber guys keep talking to me about risk.
risk.
It's like, you need to talk more about risk.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Does he work with you by any chance?
He does.
Oh,
In fact,
okay.
that's why we both have a uniform
just
on,
wondered.
and you don't have the uniform on. And we have Charles Boicey, my favorite CTO of Clearsense. And my gosh, you do work in India. You do a lot of stuff. It's
Yeah.
fun. Well, we're going to go off the news. We could talk about the conference, and we probably will at some point.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
cool
yeah.
thing is I can just go to the app now.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
It's
Yeah.
right here, just looking at all the things. Let's see, what's top of mind? Hey, something happened at Change Healthcare. Let me take a look at that. Change Healthcare,
Right.
OptumHealthcare Connectivity. We have additional recommendations from HISAC, and we have the story, obviously, in here of the breach. This is cybersecurity, so
Those that don't want to talk about breaches are not talking about it.
well, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
the CIO community, they've been popping in and out of this thing to go to updates,
Yeah.
talking. I mean, even if they're here, they're like not here
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
And that gets back to the age-old thing. If your trains aren't running on time, the rest of the really cool stuff you're doing ain't happening. It doesn't really matter.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
I think this is a really good opportunity for all of us to learn. This is it. If we can learn from this collectively, then we're going to be in a much better place. Then if change does the right thing and lets everybody know, exposes what they need to expose, we can get to a better place. This is what I've appreciated about AWS. Whenever there's an AWS outage, it is as transparent as it can be.
Yeah.
It's posted. You can read all about it. It's like, hey, we found this bug, we found this thing. And on the flip side, I'm talking to the CIOs at least 2 days ago, and they're like, what do you know? And they're like, we've met with them twice. We don't know much. Like, they're not revealing much. Now, since then, this is what I've heard. I will compare notes here.
Yeah.
Since then, what I've heard, and we're recording this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
This will air on next Monday, so we'll know a lot more by then. Right. What I'm hearing is 3 entities, United Healthcare, Optum, and Change. And most organizations are connected to all 3. I did find some that aren't connected to Change.
I did too yesterday.
Yeah.
Found somebody who said, like, I'm not effective. And the first person that I've ever talked to.
Yeah, because they're alternatives to Change, although they are the 100-pound gorilla or whatever it happens to be. So there's 3 networks. What I'm hearing from the floor is people are hearing they have the green light to connect back to United Healthcare. They have the green light to connect back to Optum. They do not have the green light to connect back to Change. And even if they did, it's in kind of disarray and there's nothing to connect back to. That's what I'm hearing from the floor. So that's completely anecdotal. I'm curious if you guys are hearing something similar.
Yes. I think that no more detail for that.
No more details.
One of the really important and interesting things in all of this is that it also helps light up health systems to better understand, because this is a thing now that everybody in the health system knows about, but it helps light up this third-party risk management issue that everybody has. And then the idea that when a third party goes down, and it's because they have a cybersecurity incident, and you disconnect from that. Now there needs to be some rules of the road about how and when and who makes the decision, who accepts the risks to reconnect. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, what do you have to go through? Like, you're not going to fully audit them. So how do you make that determination?
And again, a lot of this goes back to risk. The other thing that happens is that as soon as you disconnect, you start to disrupt the business and clinical operations inside your organization. And then over time, and it usually doesn't take very much, the clinical or business leader is coming to you saying, my guys on the other side, they say everything's fine, you should reconnect. Now you start to get pressure to reconnect, maybe before you're willing to do that. You can reconnect then if you're willing to accept the risk. Some people will say, I want a third-party attestation that they've reviewed your systems and everything looks good.
And the other thing is you got to make sure that it didn't affect you, right? You got to look at your own house.
Right.
Yeah, did anything during this episode come into mind?
Always.
Do you typically have one way? Are we just like calling APIs and pulling the data across, or are there like VPNs connected between these things?
Depending on what the tool is that's being used to transfer that data, it may very well be that there's actually a connection all the way into systems in your network.
That's not decent architecture. Like, you could protect yourself by creating another layer.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. All right, I'm gonna get into your space where we can talk a little bit. So this is actually not a story, but at South by Southwest, there's a panel discussion called "Will AI Replace Healthcare Workers?" ? No, but it will turn them into tech workers. And I put it on the site because I thought that's an interesting concept. I'd never really thought about that.
How about technology-enabled clinicians?
Yeah.
Technology-enabled financial people, operations, research. Absolutely. So you'll see this in here, right? I think we've come to the point finally where we've admitted this is all adjunctive. This is not replacive. This is adjunctive. So what we're going to do from a machine learning AI perspective is we're going to help you be a better clinician. We're going to help you be a better pharmacist. We're going to help you be a better operations.
But do they have to become a tech worker and understand?
No, absolutely not.
So they don't have to understand prompt engineering and stuff.
Bill, you use generative AI quite a bit, right?
Right.
And it works at your level, right?
Sometimes.
It also works at this level, and it works at this level. So
yeah, I mean, to your point, I've seen a kid interact with it.
Absolutely.
And they're able to interact.
And you see a PhD interact with it at that level. So that's the key to this generative AI as a mechanism for bringing what we're doing in the background to you. So if you're a clinical, I can summarize a whole bunch of stuff that helps you. But if you're the patient, I can summarize a bunch of stuff that helps the patient at their language level. And if they can't read or write, then I can do it verbally now.
If we can get the transparency and then the quality, summaries is one of the biggest opportunities. I think the second one is natural language. Nuances here, bridges here, and others are here. It's just been a plethora of those kind of companies come and say, hey, we the natural language front end to healthcare, and they're starting to pop up. How away from that are, I can see it being like the Star Trek moment that we look back on and say, that's where it started. And now everywhere across healthcare, we're naturally interacting with computers.
Yeah, from a natural language understanding, absolutely. But then the delivery. In India, there's 10 dialects of Hindi. Actually, there's more. So what we're doing is we're working with those various dialects. And the literacy rate is very low, right?
So you're directly with the patient?
Actually right with the patient, with it from a summary perspective. And think about it. There's a lot of patients that are deaf. So American Sign Language, you could use generative AI to bring that back into sign language perspective. Those that are blind, back in auditory and or from a Braille perspective. So we now have the ability at the patient level to deliver what we're producing from an AI ML perspective. And then with the clinical perspective, we also could deliver it now at the level of the clinician. So, but that's what generative AI has done for healthcare, allows for the delivery.
I think the other interesting part of it is that we think about generative AI mostly as ChatGPT, but at the back, it's the capabilities that you're building into the tool that you're targeting for the specific use case that you have, which makes it, I don't have to understand how to do all the specific kinds of prompting to get the output I want. You're building that in.
Yep.
Yeah.
And from a prompt perspective, since you mentioned it, we know that the large language models are going to be very small and very extremely precise. So what we're doing is prompt orchestration, right? This is a prompt that came in. Which language models do we need to grab and assimilate and then bring it back? And then from an actual prompt engineering perspective, understanding tonality, understanding the content so that we can help you build a better prompt. You may think you know what you're asking, but you might need a little bit of help of getting you to that point.
That's the concept I want to hear from CIOs, health system CIOs at this point, is the fact that they're going to have multiple language models that are trained on very specific things that they're going to have to interact with, and start to think about it from an architecture standpoint. Instead of we signed the Microsoft agreement, we're using ChatGPT or Copilot, whatever they're branding at this point.
Is there going to be an interoperability problem?
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah.
One article on here is that they're talking about application sprawl, and the premise of the article is it's only going to get worse with Gen AI before it gets better. Like, we're going to sprawl again, and just like everything else, we sort of come back later and go, wow, we have too many of these.
You know what? From a healthcare perspective, it's up to us to learn this. As technologists, it's up to us to learn and stay on top of it. It really is. If you don't do your due diligence, if you don't educate yourself and your team, then you're going to be lost.
The history repeats itself.
Yeah.
Part of this, right? Unfortunately, the cycle is usually so long or long enough. But the people who are doing application consolidation and all that stuff now, hopefully those people are like looking at the stuff that's coming and saying, let's consolidate before we have to consolidate.
At any given time, you have to stand in front of a moving train.
Oh, yeah.
And say, no, the train is not coming into the station because it hasn't been vetted. It doesn't integrate. It doesn't. I mean, some of them are obvious, but a lot of them are integrated or are a better experience for the clinician, that kind of stuff. How do you stand in the way of that train? People will not say, oh, governance does.
I think the other challenge is that with cloud, sometimes the train never actually comes to your station. There's a whole new way.
It bypasses. Yeah.
Exactly.
And so the department lead just reaches in their backpack and pulls out their credit card and goes,
sign up.
We don't need IT. I've heard that statement hey, we don't need IT. That's why we went in this direction. Like, yeah, until you do need it.
There we go. Shadow AI and ML. I love it.
You can see that in the academic medical center.
Oh, it happens. Yeah, it happens.
In the ever-evolving world of health IT, staying updated isn't just an option, it's essential. Welcome to This Week Health, your daily dose of news, podcasts, and expert commentary designed specifically for healthcare professionals like yourself. Discover the future of health IT news with This Week Health. Our new news aggregation process brings you the most relevant, hand-picked stories from the world of health IT, curated by experts, summarized for clarity, and delivered directly to you. No more sifting through irrelevant news, just pure, focused content to keep you informed and ahead. Don't be left behind. Start your day with insight at the intersection of technology and healthcare. This Week Health, where information inspires innovation. Closing question. You guys have been on the floor now for at least a day. What have you seen? What's interesting?
I think what's interesting to me, I stated it before, is that we now, from a community perspective, from a technology perspective, we understand that we're here to enable people and not replace them, not make them look stupid, make them look better. And then from a patient perspective, actually be able to deliver on our promises so they get what they need. And you see this through here, all of these adjunctive applications that help us as clinicians and folks that work in healthcare, as well as the patients. There's as much patient-focused vendors and technology here as there is on the clinical side, which is great. And Bill, we talked about this years ago. Someday they will come to us because they've had a traumatic injury, they have a bacterial viral infection, or they're genetically predisposed. We will get to a point where people take care of themselves and they come to us for those three reasons. And I think we're seeing the genesis of that,
of personalized care, personalized healthcare.
Yeah, where we take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Seeing Tausight next to CrowdStrike booth.
Yeah.
And then sitting down with the Tausight people and looking at, they have a M365 that they just announced. Yep. So they're looking at all your PHI there. They're finding all your PHI on your data stores, in your teams. I mean, they're finding it everywhere across. And then they're reporting it directly into the CrowdStrike console. So it's what you're used to. It's your CrowdStrike client.
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. And then they're integrating with ServiceNow. And so you're sitting there going, oh my gosh, so there's the remediation path to start. And by the way, I'm looking at these, I'm like, are these the kind of numbers you're finding at the health system? They're like, yeah.
That's the surprising part. Yeah. When folks roll out Tausight, there's always this like giant surprise of like, what? That isn't supposed to be there.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And that email piece to me is really interesting, especially in an academic setting. There was a time where these people were emailing this data all over the place. That was the way they got it.
We used to have servers under our desk.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And even now, I mean, I think if you go back and look at old emails that physicians hold on to or others hold on to for years and years, those reports that have been sent to them because they've asked for a report, still in their mailbox, still contains a lot of PHI. And it's just, this gets to data retention policies.
Yeah. Isn't this the age old, like my wife and I always say, they can break into our house. There's just nothing to take.
Yeah.
Like they could take the big screen TV, but we could go to Costco and get another one. It's not, there's really nothing to take in our house that has significant value.
Right.
Therefore, they're not going to target our house.
Yeah.
With PHI, if remediated, if you put it where it needs to be and you put the security controls around it, they can break in and they're going to go, hey, we can't find the crown jewels. Like there's nothing here.
Here. When it comes to straight up sort of data that's true. When it comes to creating chaos and that's a kind of a different ballgame.
But I think we've talked about that earlier.
There's also the, like with ransomware, those kinds of things, shutting the business down and creating chaos also now puts you in a much more higher profile target with the FBI and the other agencies to take you out, because you're really disrupting things. When you steal data, you're still a target, but I don't think you don't move into sort of like the terrorist organization category.
Did you and I talk about the week that MGM and Caesars got hacked?
I was in Vegas that week.
All right, so Caesars paid, MGM didn't.
Yeah.
Which was the right approach?
It depends. Again, it's totally up to the organization and the risk they can tolerate and what they want to do.
So paid, did they become an ongoing target? Whereas MGM, you're looking at going, hey, they didn't pay.
No, these guys have a code of ethics now, and they don't hate its lies.
Yeah. It is amazing on the dark web, though. There are some rating systems, and there are some rules of the road.
There are.
Where it says if these guys paid, we leave them alone.
And everybody else leaves them alone.
Oh, really?
Not everybody's going to adhere to that, right? These are a bunch of cyber thugs, and somebody's going to get a wild card and decide to do it. But it's a community, too.
That's interesting.
And that whole underworld, they can be shut out if they break the norm.
So I took the cybersecurity one. You get the last word. What have you seen on the
Oh, gosh, no. I think this is the same path of it's really interesting to see companies that have really sort of turned the corner, and from a health system consumer user standpoint, it feels a lot more like we're building products to help them do better with patients and families. We're not doing something to them. We're doing something for them. Les Wright says this all the time, but I see that almost like culturally start to be built into some of the companies here now, and it's great to see.
That's good. Gentlemen, it is always great to catch up with you.
Thank you.
And Drex, we'll keep catching up, so I'm not going to shake your hand. We're good to go.
We're good.
Thanks for listening to Newsday. There's a lot happening in our industry, and while Newsday covers interesting stuff, another way to stay informed is by subscribing to our Daily Insights email, which delivers expertly curated health IT news straight to your inbox. Sign up at thisweekhealth.com/news. Big thanks to our Newsday sponsors and partners, Clearsense, HealthLink Advisors, Order, SureTest, and Towsite. You can learn more about these great partners at thisweekhealth.com/partners. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.